Good afternoon. Hey, we're actually recording in the daytime instead of the nighttime. Alex, welcome to Pins and Core once again.
Hey guys.
And no, Alex is not kicking my butt again in X-Wing. We're not here to talk about X-Wing. We're here to talk about a couple of other things. One of the things we're going to touch base on is this game that's sitting in front of us. But before we get there, there's Cherry. Everybody say hello, Cherry.
Hey, Cherry.
So, one of the games that I utterly love. So, football season is coming to a wind down. CFL is just finished. The NFL is into week 13, heading into near the end of the season. So, what are us football fans going to do? Well, guess what? Play Blood Bowl. Right? Blood Bowl, which is a Games Workshop product, was re-released 2 years ago. This is the 7th or 8th version of this game that they have released. The game is amazing. First off, who doesn't love being able to play football where you can actually kill a character off the board and be able to score touchdowns?
That's
right?
That's type of football.
So, we're going to sit here and talk about
high school football.
Exactly.
I took a lot of kids off the field when I played high school.
So I brought a whole bunch of goodies with me for us to
Lots of goodies.
take a look at. So first off, we're going to do a little bit of box opening. We'll do box openings
What would you want?
on the Scarag, which is the Goblin team, and then the Elfum Eagles, which is the Elf Union team, and each one we'll go over that as well. If you're not familiar with the game has, I believe there's a Season 3 book out now, but this is Season 2 book. What Games Workshop has been doing over with the re-release of football is they release one season, go through it a little bit, then they get second season out, make adjustments on those rules, and introduce new rules, as well as introduce new teams. So the first season they introduced a couple of the basic teams that everybody's used to,
How many
like
teams are there?
Skaven, Nurgle, Dwarf, Elven Union, the High Elf team, Dark Elf team, Wood Elf teams, right? So they introduced all the Elf teams, Dwarves, and a couple of other things. There's about 18 teams.
18?
Yeah, about 18,
Wow.
16 to 18 different teams. If you're all wondering, it's fantasy football, so it's not 40K, but it's the fantasy version of Warhammer. So all the races that are in Warhammer are also in fantasy football.
Okay, so
So more Sigmar.
yeah, Age
that.
of Sigmar now.
Yeah, stuff like that. So like all those characters and stuff like so there's a Chaos team, there's Nurgles and stuff like that. All that stuff has just been released. So it took a little while for Games Workshop to re-release and get things going, but now they've got tons of great stuff for the game again. It's been released. I brought a bunch of it with me, obviously you can see. So Season 1, Season 2, and then you have the Blood Bowl Almanac, which is a beautiful book. Actually, it's fantastic. It is an updated version and it has all of the special skills, variance rules for specials under special team
So that's the
players.
main rule book. You have the official rules here, and then if you want to go into better detail, you buy one of those.
Yes, the Almanac is a jointification of Seasons 1 and 2 in one book. And the reason why is because even though when you buy the box set, which is the main case, you get two teams in that box. So you get the humans and you get the orcs, and you get all your gear. So you get your out of bounds container, you get your ball direction when you're putting the ball token in other directions, and then you have your throwing ruler, which for some reason I forgot it. It's a range ruler, it's about 3 lengths wide, about that long, which shows you where you can throw the football. Etc. With that, you have your I got extra of these. So this here is a quick reference guide for Blood Bowl. So on the one side, there's the agility table. So when you are rolling dice in Blood Bowl, you go off of the player's agility. And what I mean by a player's agility is each player consists of certain skills, certain levels of. So we'll take the human blitzer, for instance. If you look on the bottom of the card, there is MA, which is their movement, their strength, their agility, and then their armor value. So, the movement is how many squares they can move on the board, up and down the board. So when you open up the board, which we can probably open up, there's two sides to that board. There's the orc side and the human side.
The orc side looks way cooler.
Yeah, I guess.
So when you look at the board side, the board is quite long.
Size board.
Good size board. It's a miniaturized NFL football pitch. So,
It's not CFL?
no.
That's for AHL. Yeah, Australian Football League.
But, so when a player is on the pitch, there is little squares, like little plus signs,
Yeah. Hex out the squares.
which hex out the squares. That player can move 7 squares, either at an angle, straight, or
Whatever.
whichever direction they want, but only 7 movements. So they can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That kind of thing. So they can go straight, sideways, at an angle, however you want to get to where you need to get to, right, to avoid things. So it's just like football, right? So when you're actually a football player, you do the same thing, right? You run at an angle, you run sideways, you run forwards, you can run backwards, whatever you want to do. Obviously, you don't want to run backwards, obviously, only in the wrong direction, right? But each one has a movement value. They also have a strength value, which is when they have that strength value that goes on top of when they're getting attacked. So, for instance, when someone rolls dice, they have to roll 3 or better for you to actually knock a player over. The agility, right, and the strength value is how many dice they roll. The agility is what you have to roll over. The armor value is what you do to break their armor. So for you to be able to knock the player off the pitch, you have to knock their armor value. You have to get over their armor value. So for a human blitzer, their armor value is 8. So for you to be able to knock the human blitzer unconscious or off the pitch, you have to roll over 8 to break the armor value. Once you've broken the armor value, then you roll again to see if the player is actually going to leave the pitch or just be stuck.
How many sides does the dice have? That you
It's a
roll?
6-sided dice.
So how do you roll 8?
You roll 2 dice.
Okay.
You roll 2 6-sided dice. So with that, then there's also you roll also attack dice, which allows you. I wish I would have brought my dice with me. Darn it.
Is it all 6-sided dice in this game?
Yeah, they're all 6-sided dice, but they're different. There's different logos on the dice, which I'm hoping that some of these books might have. I don't. So there's a.
What do the logos represent?
One represents a pushback, one represents knockdown, one represents.
So it'd be the same as on our
There's
sheet here?
blocking?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So the symbols. So you got the skull, which is the attacker's down. Then you have the one that has a little circle with the explosion, like a bullet hole in a skull. That means that gives you both down. The push means what happens is that player gets pushed back into a different square, but doesn't get knocked down. The little quotation mark is a defender stumbles unless the defender uses the dodge skill. So if you have the dodge skill, that player they get pushed back instead of knocked down. So he stumbles, gets knocked over on that one, unless you're got the dodge skill. Then you have the defender down, which is the one that you always want, which we call snake eyes or whatever. You always want it, or as most people call them, Elton Johns. So you roll those, and if you get 2 of them, whatever, you get Elton Johns, you get to knock a person down, and you're all happy, right? So, classes. So those are your dice that you use to knock a player off and down and out, right? Then you roll your 6-sided dice to see where your damage is by the armor value. Using the agility table, their agility. So for instance, when a blitzer attacks, he uses 3 agility. So if he gets help from another player, so if he has 2 players beside him, and these players have skills, so each player, like for instance, the blitzer has the skill block. So when the block skill is put in play, that means he is extremely hard to get knocked down. So the skill is, where is that? These skills. The block skill, if you use, affects the result rolled with the block dice, as explained in the blocking rules. So you roll the block dice, roll it. If it has anything, the chances of you getting knocked down with that dice are pretty hard unless you get the skull. So there's a lot of maneuvers and abilities. Haven't played the game in a little while. I'm a little rusty. But each agility has different levels. So there's one up the top that says the player's agility is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Underneath that is what you have to roll. So if a player is got 3 agility, they have to roll a 4+ to be able to knock a player down. Or do one of the agility skills underneath, which is throw the ball, make a dodge skill, hand the ball off, throw the ball, make a dodging skill roll, attempting to intercept the ball. So it's just like a football game, played on a small miniature board. Other than that, the skills are here and there. You have an injury table, which is 2d6, so you roll 2d6. They're stunned, knocked down, and casualty. So in the dugouts, you have this board here, which is your dugout board. So you have 3 dugouts. You got your, I'm ready to go. You got your, I'm knocked out. Then you got your, I'm dead, can't return to the game. I'm dead, would have to be replaced. Kind of token. Up top, you have your score. So 1, 2, 8. So 1, 2, 3. Every time you score, you move that down the board for your scoring. Down here is your halves. And then you have your rerolls. So a reroll is good because if you're down with the reroll, you spend a reroll and you're able to reroll dice, which allow you to be able to possibly knock a player down or move forward with something else.
So
and again, those dugouts are on both sides.
You only get 8 rerolls per game, is that it? Or
That's the maximum that you can get on the board.
Oh, okay.
But it doesn't mean that you can't buy more than
You can buy
than that if you can, right? As you build your teams, when you first build your team, you start off with a million points. So a 1,000,000-point team gets you 12 to 13 players, which is one box of a team is usually 12 figs in a container. So 12 figs in a box, and those 12 figs have some specialty players like blitzers or throwers or catchers, and then you have your regular linemen, which are just their basic players, right? So each of those players are on this field. Now, this is the goblins, which are squishy. So, but they're fun to play, goblins, because what the goblins do is they have all kinds of like neat little weapons. So you get to have like ball and chain, and they have like a catapult, and so people play the goblins to have fun with them and whatnot. Then there's the chaos, which are just their beaters and hammers. And then you have the elves. Here, these elves are your agility team. So they get to do all kinds of, their agility is usually any elf team agility is extremely the best probably in the game. The only downside to an elf team is for no matter how good their agility is, they seem to still die. Because usually their armor value is very weak. So if you catch them, they end up being. Now, there's also Skaven, which are little speedy rats. They're strong players, they're gutter runners, but their armor value and their strength is really bad. So, gutter runners' strength value is only 2, and their armor value is like 6, I believe.
But isn't everything based on rolling of dice? So you have the worst.
True. You can have the worst team on the face of the earth, but they still they still have that trustability.
Notice the blitzer and the linemen are females from the elf.
That's because the Elf Union team mixes all 3 elf races. So you have the elves, like the wood elves, you have the high elves, and you have the dark elves. So the Elf Union represents all 3 of those factions in one team.
No, I'm saying they're female.
Yeah, that's usually the witch hunters.
Oh, okay.
So the dark elves have witch hunters, which are really, really good. But those are, this is just basic. We'll go through things. I mean, we're introducing Blood Bowl right now. The reason I'm introducing it is because we are going to be starting our new season of Blood Bowl starting in January at Bastion's Games.
What night do you guys play it?
The way we run the league is pretty simple. So you have one game you have to play in a week. And so you as the player, I set the league up, and then you as the player call your opponent up to set up a time within the 7 days that it works for both of you to be able to play your game. So there's not a guaranteed date that you have to finish, other than the fact that you have to make sure that your game is put in during that week. And because the next week is your next opponent. So then it usually most people usually run like a 10-week season. And then as your team progresses on through the season, you add skills to it. So you can add, and you build teams. The good thing about this game is you come in with very basic skills on certain players, but you can actually turn a lineman into a very agility-based player. So if they get some star player points, which is what you do at the end of every game, you roll star player points, and if they kill a player, they get star player points. If they end up catching a football or an interception, like anything they do that is agility table on the agility table, anything like that gets them points. When they get those points, you spend those star players points to give that player a skill of your choice that is in here. And I'll just explain one of this. Let's see if I can find this.
Would they also be in these books too, or are they all in this?
Oh, they're all in here.
Oh, okay.
So you guys, if you want, you can look. It's usually in the back of the book. For instance, one of the skills in here is a wild animal. So this is a minus skill for anything, but the wild animal says wild animals are uncontrolled creatures that are rarely do exactly what a coach wants them. In fact, just about all you can really, really rely on them to do is lash out at opposing players that move too close to them. To represent this, immediately after declaring an action with a wild animal, roll a d6. Add 2 to the roll if taking a block or blitz action. On a roll of 1 to 3, the wild animal does not move and roars in rage instead an action is wasted. So what happens is if you roll under that aspect, now the guy just stands there. So he doesn't get an action. Now his zone is free, so people can the other person can go through him without any problems, that kind of thing. A positive.
How do you know how much the skills cost?
There is a skill table in the books that tells you exactly how much each skill costs in the book. One of the positive skills is Pro. So Pro is a generalization skill, but Pro allows you to give that player has his own personal reroll. So if that player decides to make a blitz action, and on his blitz action, a blitz action is you move to block a player. So if he moves on his block to block a player, rolls the dice, and they're all skulls, well, now he can spend his reroll, his personal reroll, to reroll those dice, right? So that he can, instead of going down, he can now move forward to do something else. He gets his own personal reroll, right? A player with this skill is hardened veteran who rarely makes a mistake once per turn, whether yours or your opponent's. A pro is allowed to reroll any one die roll they have made other than armor, injury, or casualty rolls. So what they mean by armor, injury, casualty rolls is when you roll 2d6 to do the damage to the player after you've knocked them down, you can't re-roll those with the pro roll. You have to use your main team rolls to re-roll those. But any other roll, like beforehand, you can use your pro roll to re-roll.
What other characters can you buy for the teams?
They're star player characters. So, for instance, Griff Oberwald is a star player.
Which faction? Humans.
Humans. He is able to do a bunch of cool abilities. Morgothorg is another star player that you can use. It usually tells you the team that he can play on that. And then another one is Varg Ghoulchewer, who, these are all...
And did these come in the starter box?
No. This particular set of cards came in the special play cards box, which is the Team Titans pack, which has extra cards of players and teams in it for you to look at and utilize as you're building your team, or you want to use them for reference guide for when you're playing a game.
Do they have gnomes for this game, or not yet?
What's that?
Gnomes.
No.
Oh.
The way they have is halflings,
Okay.
which are squishy but fun to play. They have halflings in the game, and then there's, for instance, there's a team called, one of my buddies likes to play an ogre team. No, yeah, an ogre team. And an ogre team has huge, big ogres, and then they have like runtlings, like little, huge, small, little stunty players that
Cannon
just,
fodder.
yeah, that are
That's
pretty
what
much.
these guys are for, right here. These guys cannon fodder in the game.
They're goblins. Goblins are cannon fodder, but they're very fun cannon fodder because they have all kinds of. Yeah, Goblin team is actually pretty fun to play because of all the little fun toys and tools that they have to play.
I just thought if they had gnomes, it'd be more like almost like mechanics, like grenades and stuff.
Oh yeah, well they have that kind of stuff.
Oh,
So like they have like a gun thing that shoots at knocks people over.
Dwarves would have that kind of stuff.
Dwarves have something called a death roller.
There you go.
I think it'd be similar but different than gnomes to the dwarves.
Well, dwarves have a big
Yeah.
beard.
Exactly.
I played Dwarves. Personally, I played Dwarves, and I love playing on Death Roller. It is like probably one of the strongest star players, specialty characters that you put on the board, and it does a lot of damage. And it literally squishes people. So it's pretty sweet, but it also has a lot of minuses because it's only got very little agility. So trying to do anything with it by having it pick up a football or anything like that, you're gonna fail, and it's just gonna end up doing it. Because the thing is with this game is there's still a lot of aspects to it where you can fail. Like for instance, if you move a player over to a ball and you try to pick up the ball and you fail it, well now you've lost your turn. So now that gets now that ball gets dropped. Now you have to move, and now it's the other player's turn. So, right, you lose your turn. And unless you have rerolls, then you can reroll. So there's a lot of aspects to this game that make the game fun. But again, who really doesn't love to be able to take a team, put them on a pitch, play against somebody else, smack them around a little bit, rolling and being able to kill the character off the board, right? So you could literally, playing goblins is fun because you sit there and they're so squishy, they just, but they have like stunty and stuff, so they can like jump through tackle zones and stuff like that, which makes it much more interesting. This actually, Vancouver has a very big following in this game, and we actually have a major event every year, which is coming up, I believe, in May. Yeah, May is called the Spike Cup. So there's 5 or 6 major events throughout the year that Games Workshop holds, where this game gets played. So like the Chaos Cup, all stuff like that. Now here in Vancouver, in the West Coast, is the Spike Cup. So the Spike Cup, there's about 10 to 15. Oh, wait a minute. I think he had 25 to 30 players show up for Blood Bowl, and it's a whole weekend of playing fantasy football. And these guys come out, they play teams, they paint them, and the paint jobs are just as good as like when you look at somebody's 40K army or you look at somebody's Warhammer army, right? The reason I love this game also is I don't have to worry about painting 300 figs. I only have to worry about painting 16, right? Because the maximum amount of players you can have on a team is 16. So when you make your game sheet, you can only have 16 players on a team, and then your team's full. So then if you want another player, you either have to remove a player to add a new player, or you don't add a new player, you add skills, so forth. As the seasons progress, the season progresses on, your players get better. So then you end up getting more skills for that player. So some human player that might only have like catch and dodge now might have catch, dodge, block, double hand, like all kinds of good stuff to make it an amazing player. So when the season's over and you relaunch your team, you get a little bit of a bonus to relaunch your team. So with relaunching the team, now you have to choose which players you're going to keep, which players you're going to discard to relaunch the team. So if you decide, if you have like, let's say you have 10 really good players, well, you're not going to be able to keep all 10 of those players on your team because your team value could be 2.5 million points, right? So every time you start a new league, and if you want to keep the old team, usually the TO or the game master or whoever runs it, the coach, will end up having only so many points that they can utilize. So they can use 1.3 or 1.4 would be their point total that they can use. So now their 2.2 million point team has to be knocked down to 1.4. So what most people usually do is they'll say, okay, well, you'll be able to keep your 2.2 million team in a different league, offshooting from the main league. So now you're running two leagues. So you take that team, you put it in the second league, and then you just run it whenever as a freelance league, and then you have a new team built right from scratch in the new season. So what that does is that allows a player to play new teams. Like I say, there's so many choices for it. What we will do right now, though, is we will open one of these teams. We'll let these guys open up a team themselves. Alex, I'll let you choose first, seeing how you're the guest. Because which team would you like to open?
Let's open up the goblins.
You want to open up the goblins? All right,
Yeah.
open up the goblins, and Jared can open up the elves.
Yep.
So, as they're opening up those packages, which I know Jared loves opening up packages, so any chance he gets to open up goodies is always good to take.
Yeah, I like presents.
I like to talk about the out of bounds token. So this here
Looks like they
gets
got football
placed
too.
gets placed on the outside of the board, lined up at the outside of the board, and then you end up putting it just off the basis of the sidelines, the square, or this circle in the middle of the
Well, you got a plastic thing.
the circle in the middle of the token is where you would place the ball, and then you would shoot it. You would roll a 1d6, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You roll that dice, and it sees where that's the direction that it decides to come into the pitch off the sidelines. That gets thrown in by the fans, right? This token, the star token, which looks like the Star of David, has again the ball goes here. You roll a d8, and that tells you the direction it's going. When you roll a d8, then you roll a d6, and then that's the direction, that's how far the ball goes. So we are looking at, let's look at goblins. So each faction has, like normal Games Workshop, you have to put them together, glue them, clean them up, and paint them. But each faction or each little team has their own little reroll token, which has the BB on the one side, and then they usually get a couple of them.
What's this thing right here? It looks like a big fish with a.
Yeah, that is their counter token.
Oh,
So
okay.
the little symbol has their special symbol. You can use it as a reroll token or a score token, and usually what happens is you keep those tokens on your dugouts. So like the fist token, you can like hold it on like, so if you want to keep the fist token, the goblin fist, you can keep it as your score token. So it's like, okay, I scored 1, fist token moves, scored 2, fist token moves, right? The circle token, okay, I have 3 rerolls with the team. I only have 2 of these, so obviously we would have an additional way to get a reroll token. So turn 3, I decide to blow a reroll. I take my token and I can put it on the 3, which is what most people usually do, stating that that's how they've blown their
They've used it.
they've used a reroll. Other way people have done it is they will put 1, 2, 3. So if they have 3 rerolls, they will fill 1, 2, 3, all 3 tokens on the container, and then if they blow 1, then they just remove it off the board, and then they have 2 left, or then take the other one until they have nothing left. The way I like it, and it's the way I was shown with one of the guys that is regular Keller. Phenomenal Blood Bowl player, loves the game as much as I do, if not more. He usually just takes it, like I say, he'll take a token and he's blowing his reroll on turn 4, then he puts the token on turn 4, he's used one of his rerolls. And then this here's your half. So I never really understood the half tokens, because normally what happens is it resets at the end of half. So you go through 8 turns is the first half, and then you go through another 8 turns the second half.
Is there a time limit on that game?
No, it's just turn based.
How long does the game usually
It
take?
takes a couple of hours.
Oh, okay.
And it could take longer depending on the people that are playing, because if somebody does a whole bunch of
Yeah, exactly.
if a bunch of people are playing and there's a lot of stuff they're doing on one turn, it takes pretty hard. But with that, there's also limits to your turn. So you can only throw the ball once, right? You can hand off the ball once
And that's per turn, correct?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
per turn, right? So you can technically take the ball, you can hand the ball off once, that player then can throw the ball, then you have one blitz action, and then you can do as many block actions as you want. But you only have one blitz action. And what I mean by how many block actions is the only way your block actions work is if you have like 3 or 4 players. Like, let's say you have 3 characters all lined up. Now you just go through the whole line of whose turn is who, and you go forward with it, right? But
Does every figure move each turn?
yes. So through your turn, your first turn, you can take all 11 players that are on the pitch. You play with 11 players on the pitch, and all 11 of those players can move in that turn.
Do they have to?
No,
Okay.
they don't. Sometimes you don't want them to move because they might be in a really good spot, so all you'll use them for is to block, right? But the game it's still a very strategic game. So I could go into more and more details, but we like keeping our videos within a certain time frame. But we are introducing Blood Bowl into Crimson Core, and we will record games, play some games, and have some fun with it as well. I've already got about 2 to 3 teams built and ready to paint it to play, so those 3 teams can easily be brought in here and played one night on a game board, which we can do. Or I can record a game that we do on the board.
Yeah, we'll have to record something. That's
So-
for sure.
But Blood Bowl is one of the amazing games that Games Workshop has come up with. An amazing game, lots of fun, lots of
And the
entertainment.
models are just as good as any other one.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
models
screws
are
are
amazing.
standard GWs, and
And
I can
phenomenal.
easily customize these.
Mhm.
Exactly. There's actually, if you actually look at the actual spurs, there is actually different heads you can add. They give you like different little heads, different little arms, and stuff that you can customize too. And it doesn't mean that you have to keep them that way. You can take that, cut it off, and move it somewhere else. So there's lots of good stuff that people have done. Keller, who I mentioned already once before, he has done all kinds of customization to his face, and he does an amazing job with it. He actually built my death roller.
Oh, nice.
And I should have brought it with me. And next time I do it, I'll bring the team in and you can see it. But Yeah. So that is a generalization of Blood Bowl with a couple of openings of a team. So.
And if they can make this into a rugby version, I think I'd enjoy it that much more.
Well, you might actually, if you like the rugby version, you might like Necromunda,
Oh, that's okay.
which is also a Games Workshop game.
Oh, nice.
But Necromunda is more of like a 40k version, so it's like where you have small teams, and you go on a little small board and you just beat up each other.
I just thought they could use the same guys, but now just have a new rule book rugby today.
To be honest,
They already have Australian rules rugby if you want to watch players get taken out.
There we
Don't
go.
need a game. Just watch the sport.
Australian football.
but stay tuned for more Blood Bowl action from Crimson Core.
Yeah, we should get a little mini league started up.
Yeah, it's easy for us to do. Like, it's not too hard to play games and get things done, and it's like a 2-hour game to play one time, and being able to, like I say, having a place to play is not hard to do. Bastion Games, we will probably be playing there. Simba's probably playing it at Nerd Haven.
Well, this fits on a Noble card table.
Yeah, so
They don't need 4x8 tables to
No.
play this. A normal, same card you play Magic on table will hold this board just fine.
but you also have to keep in mind, this board goes in one direction, and then you have your
Why don't you just put it on
dugouts,
the end?
and then you have your other tokens, and you have your other material that you got to put with it as well. So
Still works.
the game's really fun, loads of fun. I'm pretty sure I've probably messed up on a couple of the explaining of a couple of things. Like I said, I haven't played it in quite a long time. But to be honest with you, our league's getting up in January, so I'll definitely be more versed.
You manage the
In the
league,
game?
right?
I do.
So if people want to know more information about the league, you just gotta get hold of Schwabi here.
Or, you guys use Crimson Core's page,
Yeah.
Facebook page, or our email. We're more willing to, the more people we get, the better. This is definitely a game that is easy to play. Father-son can play it. Even a mother-son if you want. I mean, I don't know how many females will actually play with figurines that look like they can actually kill people. I mean, that might be a little bit too moral for them. Just joking.
The good ones will- the good
That's
ones will
okay.
join
You
us.
say, well, I'm wondering if I could put a Hooters team out there.
Hey, you know what? Actually, Nate, we all know Nate.
Oh, of course.
Yes.
So Nate has, he built his team that he played against in the last season was a Dark Elf team, and he bought all females. So they're all female team, and they had, there's so many third company things that make up figs for the
Yeah.
game. Because really, to be honest with you, really all you're doing is making figs of like Warhammer, right?
And what
Of like
scale this is.
of fantasy characters, right?
Yeah.
So anybody can make an orc, anybody can make certain things. But and for years, Games Workshop didn't support Blood Bowl for a while because it wasn't a part of Games Workshop's itinerary. So they just decided to leave for a while. But now that it's been relaunched and re-released, again, the game has been re-released again, and they have done an amazing job with it. And it's fun. It doesn't take you like 25 hours to paint figs. It doesn't take you. You can easily get one team put together in a short period of time, and you play, and you're ready to play probably within a day.
But then there are some guys out there and gals that they're just so stingy with the painting, it has to be perfect. And
There
everything.
is phenomenal, and I mean anything you look at, anybody that is into painting, anything they do is going to be phenomenal.
Yeah.
But I mean, Blood Bowl same way. There is phenomenal paint. Like you even look at some of the paint jobs on these boxes of pictures of guys that have done it. Like these are guys who are from Games Workshop that have painted these figs. Like some of the things that they do is just amazing to see.
And
So
the thing with the scale is the larger the pieces, the more the closer it is you look. When you got the smaller scales, it looks better from a distance.
yeah,
Because when I do like 6 mil or 15 mil, I'm like, I'm not going to go for the magnifying glass. I can't paint that well at 6 mil.
Some people do actually.
Yeah, those are what they stay away from.
Some people actually, like my buddy Bosco, paints quite a lot, and so he paints with an airbrush.
Mm-hmm.
He has an airbrush, and he has a light with a big, huge mirror. So he has a little citadel, a little citadel holder for the fig to sit, and then he holds the fig up, and as he's painting it, he looks through his glass with his light on, and he paints it on a more touch basis, right? So he's gotten really good with his painting with that aspect.
I bought that little thing too for all my models.
Yeah, it's fun. Like it's just me again. That's another tool that Games Workshop Citadel has come up with.
Instead of just a little paint can, like a little spray paint can.
How much does the starter set cost?
This starter set costs $125, I think.
Not bad.
That's going great.
Exactly.
But $125 gets you 2 teams, all your dice, a 2-sided board, dugouts, a set of rules, a quick reference card, and I did say 2 teams already, right?
Yeah.
And it gives you a bunch of cards.
Oh, nice.
So there's specialty cards that you use too. So in addition to the game, I forgot to bring.
And I've seen that you could buy other boards for other packages.
Yes, there is. Actually, Bastion's Games has about 6 or 7 different boards. So there's like one with a winter on it. So there's 2 different sides of the winter on it. There's a dwarf Skaven board, and there is a elf and elf. I think it's double elf. One wood and one something else. So, but and then they have their own. Each faction now. The other thing that I really love what Games Workshop has done with this game is they haven't just released the figs, but they've released the fig set with also their own specialty race dice.
Oh, that's cool.
So when you buy the race dice, it gives you an 8-sided dice, a 12 or 20-sided dice, and then a bunch of 6-sided dice, so that you can use in the game all the dice that you need. And they're different colors, so you get a mix of. I have out of the sets, I have probably about 7 different dice sets with them, but they're amazing. And then every league that gets played usually creates a set of dice, or done like our league that I created is called the Skull Mountain Blood Bowl League. Mm-hmm. So, and the reason we call it the Skull Mountain Blood Bowl League is because every time we and my buddy Bosco roll dice, we always rolled skulls, which always makes the attacker get knocked down all the time. So, as everybody knows with my dice rolls, that's normal with me. So, we were just trying to come up with a name for the league, and we decided, you know what? We should call it Skull Mountain. So that's what we did.
So, you said that players can be killed, right? So they're taken out of the game?
Yeah.
So what if you kill your opponent's quarterbacks so he has no more?
Well, the game is based on a player has agility. Like all the elves have 3 agility, or 4 agility. So any lineman, like a regular lineman, can easily just throw the ball, just like a player that's a quarterback.
Okay.
The difference is like a thrower, which is what they call them in the game. A thrower has a special ability. So, for instance, I think I have it in here. The human thrower. Where is it here? Yeah. So the human thrower, for instance, the human thrower has a couple of additional skills. So they have sure hands and pass skill. So
there's still an advantage to take out all his throwers then.
Yeah, of course.
There is, but I mean, that pass skill allows them to knock down a range modifier. So if it takes 3, if it's a long pass, it could end up being a medium pass, right? And the sure hands, when they throw sure hands, is something that they keep pegging the ball, so they're automatically get a good chance to pick up the ball. They have an additional agility.
So you got +1.
Like it's a reroll. No, it's a reroll.
Okay.
To the sure hands picking up the ball only. So sure hands allows them to reroll the pick up the ball skill to pick up the ball more than once.
And with that, do you still get if you fail that, you can still use a reroll for that?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
So as long as you don't use a team reroll on that, you can still use a team reroll.
Okay.
But you can only use, you can't use the sure hands, you can't, if I'm hoping I got you right, but you can't use the sure hands reroll as well as a team reroll
Okay.
on the same skill.
Just one reroll.
Just
Okay.
one.
Okay.
So
that's
you
a-
can either use the sure hands or this. But what that allows you to do though is it takes the fact that you don't have to use one of your rerolls away
For
from
another important.
for another important finish you might be able
It's like, please don't kill my guy. Nope, still dead.
to. So, but other than that, I want to thank you all for tuning in. This one's a little bit longer than our normal because we're just introducing Blood Bowl a little bit to everybody. But we're going to have some fun with this game. It is a game I love. Another game I really want to introduce down the line is Necromunda. Would be something to be fun. It's a nice little fun game too, but that's something down the line that we're looking at. But Blood Bowl is definitely one of the other games I play. I know all I say is I play X-Wing, but my sideboard game
Right.
is Blood Bowl.
No, I think your sideboard game is X-Wing.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
Blood Bowl is your main game.
No,
Yeah.
I don't play Blood Bowl as much as I play X-Wing. If I could actually get my league rolling on a more consistent basis, I probably would be playing Blood Bowl a
Yeah.
lot more. It's really tough to coordinate a whole bunch of players to
Oh god, yeah.
to play it, right? So X-Wing is just much easier to play, and I enjoy it just as much as I play.
And it's a lot simpler right now, and also Christmas time is coming,
Yeah.
the holiday season, so it's a little bit focus on that.
But all you people out there, if you want a nice game that you can play with your kid, Blood Bowl's a good way to go. It's fantasy football with a brutal side.
The fun side.
That was family oriented.
So-
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you, Bobby. Good night.
Good night.